Fourth quarter subscribers for Netflix came in lower than the company had predicted. Still, shares of Netflix up this week, thanks in no small part to the price increase the company announced 2 days before they released the earnings, Andy.
I think it was an impressive quarter, continuing to build on as they are building this behemoth of a media company with 139 million global subscribers, 58.5 million in the U.S., 80.8 million internationally. Growth was up 30%. They continue to see they need to make the investments as they are building out the platform that they can serve. They offered up a lot of interesting content stats, Chris, which I found very interesting. Analysts have been looking forward to this. So the one that I found the most interesting is that they now have about 10 in the U.S. about 10% of screen time, TV screen time per day. That's about 100 million viewing hours in the U.S. per day on Netflix. Which, when you think about it, the volume of content they have, the ability to show that to those subscribers continues to impress me. However, it is expensive, and their free cash flow line continues to be negative.
You look at the subscriber number, Ron. I mean, yes, they came in a little bit lower than they had guided. They still came in close to 9 million.
The growth obviously is impressive, and playing the expectations game with that, you know, you're going to be ahead or behind in any given quarter, but very, very impressive. But speaking of pricing power, getting back to that, it clearly seems that Netflix does have pricing power. Now, that doesn't extend into perpetuity. At some point, they're going to raise prices, and it'll kind of tip the scales to where some people will say that that's too much for me. I'm not actually utilizing Netflix. I'm not enjoying the content enough to pay the price that they're charging, but it doesn't seem that that will be anytime soon.
Can I just go back to that stat that I said? So it's 100 million hours video per day. That's about 1.7 hours per day per membership in the U.S. That's about 51 hours per month. The average price for Netflix subscriptions is about $10. That's like 20 cents an hour that we're paying to use Netflix. So when I think about the ability for them to keep raising prices as they need to deliver this content, I do see room for them to grow in that regard.
Well, and we talk about Netflix in the competitive landscape going up against the likes of Disney, Hulu, et cetera. I thought it was pretty smart of Reed Hastings to talk about the competitive landscape, not just in terms of those companies, but also broadening it to talk about things like YouTube and Fortnite, because certainly for younger people, that's taking some of their attention as well.
I think that's the key, really, is understanding that they are in the entertainment industry. It's not just streaming video, and Fortnite is a good comparison there. And just to go back to the price increases for a second, because I do feel like Netflix has earned that right to boost prices incrementally. And they're going to be able to do that, I think, for a little while longer. The question for me is, how far can they go? Because if you just look at the math here and say Netflix raises prices by $10 a month. Okay, if they raise prices by $10 a month on all U.S. subs today, that gives them basically an additional $7 billion in revenue per year. But the problem is that money has already been spent, and they're going to have to keep on doing that. I think that part of the downside of the binge watching movement is the content just lasts a much shorter lifetime, which means that you have to come out with more content. And their business model is in the line of producing a ton of it. So it's just it's going to be expensive to do, but they've proven very worthy of maintaining that subscriber base.
And you counter that with a company like Costco, which also appears to have some pricing power with their membership fee. But every time they raise that membership fee, it really accrues to the bottom line. It's incremental profit because they're so profitable in the first place, because the model just works.
Yeah, the argument with Netflix is eventually those price increases will trickle down to the bottom line, but it's still in theory right now. We have to kind of wait and see.
And they did raise $800 million in notes and $1.1 billion in euro notes during the quarter. So continuing to put debt on the balance sheet that they hope they can recover from down the road.